Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're cutting through the noise, really getting into the essential insights from a major new forecast. It's all about the global beverage packaging can market. Our mission, basically, is to give you a quick but thorough understanding. We'll cover key market trends, growth projections, and those important regional shifts from this recent report. We're pulling our insights directly from the global beverage packaging can market forecast to 2033. That's by Cognitive Market Research. And look, this isn't just about crunching numbers, right? It's about seeing how these big forces, against, consumer demand, innovation, sustainability, how they're reshaping a really massive global industry. Okay, let's unpack this and see what truly stands out. Kicking things off with the big picture, the global beverage can packaging market is definitely on an impressive growth path. Back in 2021, this market it generated a solid $3.4 billion in revenue, roughly, and that figure it's projected to climb to over $4.1 billion by 2025 and then really expand. We're talking nearly $6.3 billion by 2033. So that's a steady climb. It averages out to just over 5% annual growth, a KGR of 5.145% to be exact. Now, the report, it points to expanding consumer demand, a strong focus on sustainability, and, well, ongoing innovation within the beverage sector as the main drivers here.
Yeah, and it's easy to just see those big numbers, right? But let's distill what's really driving this. The report really emphasizes how sustainability isn't just, a buzzword anymore. It's translating into real shifts. For
Mm.
instance, you see brands increasingly investing in fully recyclable aluminum cans. That's huge. And this kind of commitment, it's resonating with consumers globally. It's not just niche markets now. It's fundamentally altering how beverage cans are perceived and, well, used. And beyond that, you just got the sheer convenience, the portability of cans. They're perfect for on-the-go consumption, which, fits perfectly with modern lifestyles, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Now, let's zoom in on the regions because the report reveals some pretty stark differences in growth, and one region clearly outshines the others, Asia Pacific. This region is, well, it's absolutely dominating the expansion. In 2021, Asia Pacific's revenue was over $1.3 billion. That's $1,346.84 million. Dollars. And it's projected to more than double, hitting over $2.6 billion by 2033. It's leading the pack with an impressive annual growth rate, a CAGR of nearly 5.7%. 5.739% actually. So the question isn't just how much growth, but why? Why Asia Pacific? And, particularly certain countries seem to be exploding. What unique blend of consumer preferences or industry shifts does the report highlight for these specific Asian markets? For instance, China is massive, going from nearly $400 million in 2021, that's $398.666 million, to almost $800 million by 2033, growing at nearly 6% annually, 5.937% CAGR. But India is really the outlier here, isn't it? It's surging at an incredible 6.47% annual growth rate. They're projected to more than double their market size, to almost $500 million, $465 million in just over a decade, started at $219 million. And we also see strong growth in Japan, Singapore, and Southeast Asia too. Japan at 5%, Singapore over 6%, Southeast Asia over 6.3%.
Yeah, you've absolutely hit on the crucial point there. Asia Pacific's dominance, it isn't accidental. The report really suggests this surge, especially in places like India, is fueled by, well, a few key things. Rapid urbanization, for one. Then there's a burgeoning middle class, with increasing disposable income, and also a significant shift towards ready-to-drink beverages. Consumers are just looking for convenience, and the beverage can fits that bill perfectly.
Right.
Plus, in many of these markets, particularly Southeast Asia, you've got the cold chain infrastructure expanding. That makes it much easier to distribute chilled canned beverages. So this combination, it creates kind of a perfect storm for growth. That's what really sets it apart, even from other dynamic regions.
Hmm. That makes perfect sense. Okay, now let's pivot. Let's look at North America, a robust, established market, but with its own distinct trajectory. In 2021, the North American market had revenue of nearly $900 million, $894.469 million to be precise. It's projected to grow to over $1.5 billion by 2033, so maintaining a solid annual growth rate, a CAGR of about 4.5%. 4.485%. Diving deeper into North America, the United States, well, it remains the largest segment. Forecast to grow from around $720 million, 719.5 M, to over $1.2 billion. That's a 4.366% CAGR. Interestingly, though, Canada shows stronger growth within the region. It's projected to nearly double its market size to over $178 million. That's with an annual growth rate of over 5.1%. 5.192%. Mexico's also growing steadily from $77 million to over $133 million, about 4.6% growth there.
Yeah, it's interesting to observe that, isn't it? You've got consistent growth in these mature markets like the U.S., and while this overall growth rate is maybe steadier compared to those explosive numbers in parts of Asia, the sheer volume the U.S. represents is just immense.
But Canada's slightly higher growth rate compared to the U.S. That is notable. The report seems to point towards increasing consumer preference for things like craft beverages and also single-serve options in Canada, and those often lean towards canned packaging. So it suggests a subtle but, significant shift in consumer behavior there.
Right. Okay, let's journey across the Atlantic now over to Europe, another region demonstrating pretty solid upward paths. In 2021, the European market for beverage cans, it generated over $675 million, and it's projected to reach over $1.1 billion, $1.157 billion by 2033. That comes out to a robust annual growth rate, a CAG, of about 4.6%, 4.658%. But we see quite diverse performances here within Europe. Germany is actually leading the European countries mentioned with an annual growth rate over 5.3%. 5.368%, projected to nearly double its market size from $130 million to $241 million. The UK also showing strong growth, nearly 5% annually, 4.99%, from $95 million to $170 million. France is growing at over 4% annually, 4.1%. Russia, however, shows a notably lower growth rate among the listed European countries, just over 3.1% CAGR, from $35 million to $50 million.
And that really highlights those important regional nuances, doesn't it? The varying growth rates across European countries, like, Germany's stronger performance compared to Russia, it can indeed point to differences in maybe economic stability or regulatory environments, or perhaps just how quickly consumers in different places are adopting canned beverages. Germany, for instance, has strong environmental policies, right? Ones that favor recyclable packaging. That likely gives cans an edge there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Conversely, a slower growth rate in Russia. Well, that could be influenced by a different mix of traditional packaging preferences, or maybe economic factors impacting consumer spending. It's complex.
Okay, good points. Now, we'll quickly touch upon the remaining regions, each one contributing to the global picture. Starting with South America, its market expanded from just over $250 million, $250.177 them in 2021, projected to hit nearly $471 million by 2033. That's an annual growth rate, a CAGR, of about 5.4%, 5.396%. And countries like Brazil, with about 5.2% growth, and Argentina, nearly 6% growth, are key drivers within this region. Okay, moving to the Middle East sector, it saw revenues over $154 million in 2021, forecast to reach nearly $289 million by 2033, so an annual growth rate over 5.3%. 5.352%. And the UAE really stands out here with a notable annual growth rate of nearly 6%, 5.952%. Finally, Africa. Revenues grew from over $106 million in 2021 to a projection of nearly $198 million by 2033. That's at an annual growth rate of about 4.7%, 4.68%. South Africa is a key contributor here, growing at over 5.2% annually, 5.259%.
What's really consistent and actually quite fascinating across all these diverse markets, South America, Middle East, Africa, despite very different economic and social landscapes, is the positive growth. It's everywhere. And that really reinforces the global applicability, the global preference, maybe, for beverage can packaging as a format. Looking beyond just the immediate figures, it suggests that those fundamental factors we talk about, increasing urbanization, rising disposable income, they're playing significant roles. They're driving these growth figures, even in regions, with really varied stages of development. It truly speaks to the universal appeal of convenience and efficient packaging.
Yeah, absolutely. So to summarize our deep dive today, the beverage packaging cans market is, it's clearly poised for robust and steady growth. It's projected to nearly double from roughly $3.4 billion back in 2021 to an impressive 6.2 cents, nearly $6.3 billion by 2033. The key drivers, as highlighted in our source material, are strong consumer preference, the definite rise of single-serve trends, and those ever-growing sustainability aspirations. Regionally, Asia-Pacific and the Americas are really leading the momentum, but Europe and Africa are also showing solid upward paths.
And this raises, I think, an important question for you, the listener, to consider. As this consumer demand for convenience and, crucially, sustainable solutions continues to accelerate globally, how might innovations in the actual beverage can materials, or maybe the design, how might they further push these growth projections? And maybe even more interesting, what new consumer habits might emerge as a result of these advancements? Think about alternative materials, maybe smart packaging, or even totally new beverage categories that cans could unlock in the future.
Absolutely. Fantastic food for thought there. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the numbers and trends shaping the global beverage packaging can market. Until next time.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're taking a closer look at something you probably interact with pretty much every single day, maybe without even thinking about it,
Hmm.
the beverage can.
Right. Just a simple container, you might think.
Exactly. But here's where it gets really fascinating. We're
Mm.
doing a deep dive into the very dynamic world of the beverage packaging cans market.
Mm-hmm.
Our mission today is to unpack the key drivers, maybe some surprising restraints, and definitely the exciting trends shaping this whole sector. And we're drawing all our insights directly from the latest market research.
Okay.
Think of this as like your shortcut to understanding how our everyday choices, those big environmental concerns, and some really clever branding are, quietly revolutionizing something as basic as the can you're holding.
And what's particularly insightful here, I think, is just how deeply interconnected this market is with, well, broader societal shifts.
Yeah.
It's not just about manufacturing cans. It's this rapidly evolving landscape, constantly adapting to, shifts in how we behave as consumers, environmental pressures, and all these innovative branding strategies. It's a really living market.
That's a critical point.
Mhm.
So, okay, let's kick things off with what's pushing this market forward. What are the key drivers fueling growth in beverage cans right now?
Where do we start?
Well, top of the list seems to be our modern lifestyle, right? That fast pace
Yeah.
and the just skyrocketing demand for ready-to-drink beverages. RTDs,
Mm-hmm. Convenience is king.
totally. Whether it's your cold brew, sparkling water, that afternoon energy drink,
Yeah.
people are really prioritizing convenience, portability,
Yeah.
and cans. They're just perfectly designed for this grab-and-go culture. They're super lightweight, easy to stack, tamper-resistant, great for mass production efficiencies.
You're right.
They really are that perfect on-the-move solution lots of us seem to want.
That makes me wonder, has the research shown, any unexpected categories where this convenience factor really pushed cans forward? Maybe somewhere we didn't expect.
That's a good question. It feels like it's almost everywhere now. But tied right into that convenience is the environmental push. This is huge.
Absolutely. Sustainability.
The recyclability of aluminum cans is just massively driving adoption. And the key thing, the really big detail here, is that aluminum can be recycled, like, indefinitely.
Right, without losing quality. That's critical.
Exactly. No degradation. And each time you recycle it, you save, what, up to 95% of the energy needed for new aluminum?
Yeah, the energy savings are substantial. It makes it a really pivotal material in this whole fight against plastic waste.
For sure. And you see regulators, consumers, too, they're demanding more eco-conscious packaging. So companies are making that shift, deliberately choosing metal cans.
And it aligns perfectly with these circular economy principles. It's about reducing that plastic footprint.
Circular economy.
Huh.
Can you unpack that a bit more in this context?
Well, zooming out, this push for circularity, it's not just a trend, it's really fundamentally reshaping how industries think about materials.
Okay.
In packaging, it means designing things right from the start so you can recover the maximum resources,
Mm.
making sure materials like aluminum stay in that closed loop as long as possible.
Keeping it going round and round.
Exactly. Reducing the need for virgin materials, minimizing waste. It's a whole system approach.
Got it. Okay, and then there's the visual side, the shelf appeal, branding opportunity.
Yeah, that's become huge.
Cans have this unique advantage, right?
Yeah.
That seamless 360-degree printable surface.
A perfect canvas.
Totally.
Yeah.
It just opens the door for these incredibly vivid graphics, really creative designs, super clear branding. And with advanced printing tech, like dry offset and now digital printing too,
Mhm.
cans aren't just containers anymore. They're like sophisticated branding tools. They really boost product visibility, help premium drinks stand out on those crowded shelves.
And I find it really compelling how this, functional object transforms into a primary storytelling platform for a brand.
Storytelling, how so?
Well, we're seeing data showing brands using this for, say, limited editions with serialized designs or embedding augmented reality experiences directly onto the can.
Oh, interesting.
Things that just wouldn't work as well on, say, a bottle label. It fundamentally changes how you, the customer, might interact with the product after you've bought
Yeah,
it.
extending the experience. Okay, but of course, no market's perfect. There are always challenges.
Hmm.
So let's pivot now to the key restraints.
Yeah.
What's holding back growth?
Yeah, there are definitely hurdles.
One of the big ones seems to be the volatility. Fluctuating prices for raw materials like aluminum and steel.
Always a factor in manufacturing.
Yeah, global market swings, tariffs, those
Mhm.
unexpected supply chain kinks. They can drastically hit production costs and, profit margins.
It's a constant balancing act.
A real tightrope walk for the industry.
And that raises a question about, supply chain resilience. What does this volatility mean, particularly for the smaller players?
That's a key point.
It can be really tough for small to medium-sized manufacturers, right? Absorbing those price shocks or finding the capital to invest in upgrades when things are so unpredictable.
Definitely puts them under pressure.
Mm.
And here's another point, kind of a nuanced one. We talk about how recyclable cans are,
The end-of-life story is good.
right? But we also need to talk about the environmental impact of actually producing the aluminum in the first place.
Ah, the upstream impact.
Yes. That process, mining bauxite, refining it, it's very energy intensive. It does contribute to greenhouse gas emissions, other environmental issues.
And what's fascinating there is this ongoing tension, isn't it, between the product's recyclability, which is great, and its manufacturing footprint.
Exactly.
This whole debate around the true sustainability of cans is really active, and it could definitely lead to, stricter regulations or more scrutiny down the line.
Pushing for greener production methods, maybe?
Potentially, yes. More innovation in that space.
Okay, and finally, there's just, intense competition for other kinds of packaging.
The alternatives haven't gone away.
Not at all. Think plastic bottles, glass bottles, cartons, even those flexible pouches.
Mm-hmm.
They still really dominate certain big segments like
Mm.
bottled water, juices, a lot of dairy drinks.
And if you look at the bigger picture, it's this constant race, isn't it? An innovation race.
Wow, how so?
Well, functionality and cost effectiveness are the key battlegrounds. Many of those alternatives, they offer different advantages, like resealability is a big one for plastic bottles,
Sure.
or sometimes lower initial production costs. And that puts pressure back on the can manufacturers to keep innovating, adding more functional features themselves to stay competitive.
Always pushing forward. Okay, all right, let's shift gears now to the really exciting stuff, the innovations, the future directions. What are the top trends really redefining beverage cans right now?
This is where it gets interesting.
Definitely. And a standout trend, one you've probably noticed just walking down the aisle, is that big shift toward slim and sleek can designs.
Oh, yeah, they're everywhere.
Today's health-conscious consumers, they often want smaller portions or they're grabbing low-calorie options, healthier drinks.
Mhm.
So brands are responding with these, elegant, slender cans.
Hmm.
They fit perfectly with that wellness lifestyle.
And they signal premium too, don't they?
Exactly. They help position products as more premium.
Yeah.
You see it a lot with flavored sparkling waters, hard seltzers, lots of light alcoholic beverages now.
And what's really insightful there is how the package design, the aesthetics are directly mirroring and even reinforcing those changing consumer values. Health, premiumization,
It's like the can itself is making a statement.
almost like an accessory. Yeah. A subtle signal about the product inside.
Cool. And this next one, this is really pushing the boundaries. Smart packaging technologies.
Ah, the digital link.
Yeah.
Mm.
We're talking everything from like QR codes integrated right on the can to full-on augmented reality experiences.
Wow.
Cans were becoming these sophisticated digital engagement tools. Imagine scanning your can to instantly check if it's authentic or unlock some exclusive video content or maybe sign up for a loyalty program right there.
So it bridges the physical and the digital.
Exactly. These interactive bits are closing that gap, turning simple packaging into this rich interactive storytelling platform.
So that leads to the big question, doesn't it? How will these interactive elements really fundamentally change how brands talk to you, the consumer?
Yeah, what's the impact?
It could create a much more personal, direct channel for engagement, right? Moving way beyond just the moment you pick it off the shelf.
A whole new relationship, maybe. And finally, another big boost for cans is the huge growth in craft and functional beverage segments.
Right. Niches that are becoming mainstream.
Totally. Things like kombucha, all sorts of fortified drinks, and obviously the booming craft beer scene. They're increasingly choosing cans.
And why is that? What makes cans good for them?
Well, largely it's down to the can's superior ability to block out light. Light can really damage flavor, especially in craft beer.
Ah, protection makes sense.
Yeah, so it preserves those delicate flavors perfectly, gives a much longer shelf life compared to, say, glass,
Yeah.
and even small batch producers. They're widely adopting cans now.
For practicality.
Yeah, practicality, and also that premium look we talked about. It's really expanding cans way beyond just your traditional sodas.
And stepping back a bit, what that really shows is how incredibly adaptable cans have become.
Yep.
They're evolving into this versatile choice, even for really specialized niched products. Those protective qualities make them ideal, proving they're still incredibly relevant in this diversifying market.
So when you boil it all down, what does this all mean for us, for the future of the humble beverage can?
Where does it leave us?
Well, it seems clear this market isn't just about aluminum and liquids anymore, right? It's this fascinating intersection of convenience, sustainability, cutting-edge tech, and just pure creative design, all meeting in today's consumer landscape. With demand growing in new areas, smart branding taking off, constant innovation, the future for beverage cans looks, well, pretty bold, bright, and yeah, very aluminum clad.
And I think this raises an important final question, perhaps for you, the listener, to think about.
Okay.
As packaging keeps evolving and at such a rapid pace, how might your own expectations for convenience, for sustainability, for that digital interaction we talked about, how might those ultimately shape the very containers of the products you choose every day?